Welcome to this online tutorial. Today we'll look at sunDial Quad and creating custom dimming curves. Before we start, let's check we have everything we need. First, we need a laptop running DMX Workshop, connected to a LightSense USB light sensor from Artistic License. Of course, we need a sunDial Quad, connected to a gateway and able to communicate with DMX Workshop. And lastly, the dimmable load that we wish to test. So let's get started. If we look in the node list in DMX Workshop, we can see our sunDial Quad connected to output 1 of our ArtLinks Duo. Under the sunDial Quad, we can see two sub-menus. The first is the root menu. This gives us access to attributes such as firmware version, device status, and it's also where we'll upload our custom curve once we've created it. The second sub-menu gives us detail of the four outputs of our sunDial Quad. You can see here the personality applied to all four outputs is our generic linear curve. It's important to check this before we start the process of generating a new curve. The other piece of information we need before we can start to create our custom curve is the DMX address or start address of the output we have our load connected to. You can see in this case it's DMX start address 1. Now if we turn our attention to sunDial Curve Edit, we can look at our custom curve generation. This can be found in the Utilities menu in DMX Workshop. There are two tabs presented to us. The first is the Dimmer Curve tab. On the left, you can see a table showing the corresponding values of the DMX input and the output level. The left column shows the DMX value between 0 and 255 or 0 and 100%. The right-hand column shows our output level, not in volts, but in the range 0 to 10,000. This range equates to around 13-bit resolution dimming. In the middle, you can see the graph that shows our output plotted against our DMX input. Lastly, on the right, there are options to open or save curves. The second tab provides us the ability to connect our LightSense USB sensor and map the dimming response of our lamp. You can see the current lux level in the window. So it's important the sensor is as close as possible to the lamp being tested. However, it's possible to saturate the sensor. Before running our test, it's worth checking our sensor readings. To do so, enter the start address and the port address so we can control our output channel. In our case, if you recall, the start address is 1. And we can manually drive our output now and see the corresponding change in lux level read by our LightSense sensor. So now we're ready to run our test and map the photometric response of the lamp. To do so, press Run Test. As the output's driven, we can see the corresponding lux levels mapped on the graph. When the test completes, the output is set to 0. Initially, not a lot happens. This is due to the characteristics of the particular LED lamp and isn't all that unusual. As the output increases, we can see the corresponding light level increase. Now we see the output plateau as we reach the maximum output of the lamp. So now we've captured the response of this particular lamp, we can see that it really only operates between around 10% and around 60% of the output range. What we'd like to see is a much more linear response. If we right-click in the graph, we can pull in the yellow guide. This allows us to set our curve generation zone. Again, if I right-click on the right, pull in the guide, we can set our curve generation zone upper limit. So this part here between the two yellow guides is where our lamp is actually responding. Now we've set our curve generation zone, we can go ahead and create the curve. If we press Interpolate Curve, we can see the blue line has taken on a new form. Now we've captured the lamp response and generated our custom curve, we can load it to the sunDial quad and apply it to the necessary output. To do so, we first need to go back to the Dimmer Curve tab and press Save As, and name our lamp curve. I've saved mine as Osram 001. Now, if we go back to our sunDial quad in the node list, expand the root device menu and right-click Curve Upload, pressing Set Curve Upload. This allows us to open our curve and decide which personality we're going to apply it to. It's worth noting that the 4 personality curve slots don't correspond to the outputs. One curve can be applied to 1, 2, or as many of the output channels as desired. For this example, I'm going to upload it to personality 2. If I press the upload button, you can see the progress on the blue bar. Finally, we can now right-click our sub-device and set sub-device personality. Here we can apply our curve to the output. You can see in the options our newly loaded curve alongside other default or previously loaded custom curves. If I select Osram 001 and press Set, it will be applied to the first output. Now we've applied our custom curve, we can go back to the sunDial Curve Edit and validate the response. Go back to our Light Sensor tab and run our test again. Immediately you can see that the output has come on, unlike before when nothing happened. We should see the output follow our new curve and subsequently map a much more linear response. So you can see we've taken a fairly poorly performing LED lamp, mapped its curve, and you can see here the result is a very reasonable linear response.